So, hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 71 and in this video we continue with the keyword using. And in this video we will talk about the second key use case and let's get started. So, we start with something we already know, which is std : string, and we are creating a normal variable name, for example my name, and we are assigning a name for it, a default name, for example, coder. Perfect. And now I can get rid of this : and std when I'm using this new keyword using and introducing the string in this scope, for example. Let me show you what I mean with that. So I say I'm too lazy. I don't want to write all time std : because perhaps I have to create here millions of variables and I'm just too lazy. I don't want this. So what they do is then they write using and then std : string here on top. So just this part in front, they are using it with the word using. And what does this do is now you can write all things without the string colon here. And you see that's it. That's the new use case. But the question is, wait a minute, why we make this? Why is this useful? One reason for that is you are just too lazy to type. And you say, I want to have shorter names, for example. You see this std : makes it long, but sometimes, for example, instead of std you find here names like this: my programming example code, something like that. And then they say, oh my god, I can't write all time my programming example code : string, and then anything that they say till I type just this line of code that takes too much time. And they say, okay, now we make a shortcut. We use this using, not std. In this case they would use something like using, and all time this one just typing here in front, my programming what was it, program example code, was it example code : string. And now with this introduction they would just use now only the string, and the string would jump to this place here. So that's why they're using this word using, just because sometimes the names are too long and they want to get rid of this one. They want just say, no, I'm not doing this one. So that's a bad example here because this name doesn't exist even. So we go back to our standard library and I write here std string. There is no problem, but now I can get rid of because I have introduced here. And interesting is here you can see the string will still try to find this standard library, right? But you see this one is now connected with this one anyhow behind the scene, because this using std string introduces to this local space in this case, because it is written in this scope here. And from this point on, all time when you write string, it will be connected to this string here on top. So you can see this connection when I click on it, that it's here. And if this is connected to this one, it will use this colon here and std here. So with other words, it is still using this class resolution operator. It is still using this std, but not, the only difference is you are not typing it anymore, because this using is now connecting this here, and all time when you write string it will know, you are using this one here. And this is not an accurate explanation, but this is an explanation just for beginner that you get started to understand with it. And for more information, of course, read on a C++ book in theory part or on the web. So let's go here a little bit more about the scoping. That's also very important here. So all time when you are using, you get rid of this scope here in front, resolution, not scope, resolution operator, and where it is saved. Okay, that we learned, but it is very important where you write this line of code. For example, if I write it below this string which I'm going to use, you see it makes still an error. The reason for that is you must use it, this line of code must now it can't find this connection because it's not introduced. It was introduced after. Normally you click on this one and then you can see the connection. Let me put this back and then you see it again. And now it says, okay, when I click on it, I go here, the connection is there, and I will try to solve it and here, and then you can use it just normal. But the next problem is here. This one is local scope, right? Local scope means it is in the scope of int main. You can just write it in the global scope, and global scope is all time danger a little bit, but let's write it on the global scope, which means from now on, doesn't matter where you write it, I will find it. And you see when I click here, it's on global scope, and global scope, it's the whole file, in this case, this whole CPP file. So it is connected and useful. So there, I showed you one reason why you should write, let's say not should write, so let's say why other programmers use this sometimes to get rid of long names and so. But in general, this is bad practice. Why? Why is this a bad practice? The reason for that is it can cause game conflicts, and especially with this global space here. And the reason for that is, let's say you write here a code and test code, all worked fine, and later anyone in your team is working on your code, he extends your code, introduced here something, a new library, and in this library there is also a string actually. And actually something like a string, and let's say yes, let's say there is also a string, but within another, not in the standard library. Let's say I make just a random example which will throw an error, but anyway, using, for example, my own namespace, and there is also a string. And when something like this happens, the compiler will now cry, complain. And the reason for this one is here, when I click on this string in your code, and this was later introduced, then it will say, okay, which one I should choose now? I don't know which you want, because this is a string, this is a string, which you want. And that's why it's called bad practice to use this using a keyword, because if you just write here in front std : string, doesn't matter if the other library or namespace or whatever is introduced here, it can have also a string, but this time this resolution operator will jump exactly to this std string. And if you want the other string, then you just write the other name for it, my own namespace. And then this string will later jump exactly to this string namespace. So that's very important to know as a general rule for later, but at the starter, I would say it is enough that you know when we are using the keyword using, and then for example, std string and string we have included here on top, we can get rid of this resolution operator because it is automatically connecting. It is still using the resolution operator. The only thing is you are not writing it. This one jumps here on top to this one, and then from this point it will find it that it's in this standard library, and so no problem. But general rule, and you just have to know it, but we will probably not use it again, because for us it's very important to learn this resolution operator. It's safe, it's absolute clear which one we want, and it's very important as a beginner that you can handle this resolution operator, because soon we will talk about functions, classes, and so on, and they operate most time with this resolution operator, almost all time, because you have to specify which class you want, which function you want, and which whatever you want. You have to specify it, and the best way is just use it. Even professionals prefer this one more, because there is no check needed later. But keep this in mind. But if you get better, you will understand this, and read, of course, online a little bit more about this using Word and why it's good practice or bad practice to use it. Something like that you should learn too. And with that, we stop the second part of the using keyword, because there is one more or even two more, but we will not make all, I said. And I will just go fast over the other two in the next video. So with that said, if you have any questions like all time, ask in the comments. If not, then see you in the next. Bye.